Welcome everybody once again to another episode of B&B Hockey Talk. I'm Aaron Bloxel with my co-host, Mr. Matt Balzer. And today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the NHL Awards, talk about some of the recent signings, a lot of trade rumors going on right now, and the NHL draft in Vancouver here gets started in just over half an hour time, which is very exciting. A lot of people excited about this year's draft talent. So, and of course, this episode is sponsored by our monthly sponsor, Flash Wireless. Check out our Facebook page for how you could save on wireless on some of the biggest networks in the U.S. and even get your cell phone service for free. And that's on our Facebook page, Flash Wireless. So again, remember to like and share on our Facebook and our YouTube channel. We're there 3 times a week, bringing you this live show. So, Matt, let's get right into it. The awards happened Wednesday night after our last episode. Lots of great stories, some funny jokes, and some emotional times. Why don't we get started with some of the awards and let's just get right into it.
All right. So we touched on this on our last show, but the Calder Trophy was won by Vancouver's Elias Pettersson. I think it was basically like a slam dunk for him winning. I think he won, like 88% of the vote. He's the first Vancouver Canuck since Pavel Bure in 91-92 to win it, and only the fourth Swedish-born player to win the Calder. The other ones, Gabriel Landeskog, Daniel Alfredsson, and Peter Forsberg are the others. And then probably the funniest moment of the night, the Lady Bean winner, Alexander Barkov, won it. When he got up on stage, I think somebody yelled something in Finnish to him, and then he said, "I think we have more fans from Finland than Florida here at the draft," taking a shot at his own team's fans, which I just found absolutely hilarious. Because it's also true. So
it was a cringeworthy moment, and a lot of people though laughed pretty hard about it. So
yeah, and then the big winner of the night was Nikita Kucherov. He took home the Hart Trophy, the Ted Lindsay Trophy, and the Art Ross Trophy. For him, just an outstanding season. I think it was basically his to win. He's only the 5th non-Canadian player or born player to win the Hart, Lindsay, and Art Ross in the same year. The only other non-Canadians are Patrick Kane, Evgeny Malkin, Alexander Ovechkin, and Jaromir Jagr are the only ones to do it. The Vezina Trophy, another Tampa Bay Lightning player, Andrei Vasilevsky, took home the top goalie award. He's only the 2nd Russian to win it. The other one, of course, Sergei Bobrovsky, who's done it twice. And another stat I found interesting, he did it in the third fewest games to win the award. He only played 53 games this year. The only 2 guys that played fewer games to win the Vezina in a full season is Patrick Roy with Montreal, playing in 48 games, and Billy Smith with the New York Islanders, who played 46 games. For the Masterton Trophy, Robin Lehner won it. Great speech on his battle with mental illness. Just a true inspiration. And of course, if you haven't read up on his story, I believe it's on the Athletic that he did his story about just his battle with alcohol and drugs and just the huge turnaround. And it was a great to see him shout out the NHL's doctors that helped him through his battle there. So great story. The Norris Trophy. Mark Giordano, at 35 years old, became the 2nd oldest defenseman to win the Norris Trophy for the first time, and the first Calgary Flame ever to win the Norris Trophy. I believe Al McInnes was the runner-up a couple of years that I read up on. The Selke Trophy, this one was probably one of the closest battles to see who won it. But Ryan O'Reilly took home, I think he had like 48 first place votes, and I think Mark Stone was right behind him with 42. So just another trophy to add to the case for Ryan O'Reilly this year. And of course, Patrice Bergeron, I think this was his 8th straight year being nominated for the Selkie, and he's won it 4 times. So he still needs one more to pass Bob Gainey for most in NHL history. The King Clancy Award was won by Jason Zucker with the Minnesota Wild. I think you sort of have to look up the videos for I think Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Henrik Lundqvist are the others. If you look up the videos just to see what they do in their communities, and of course the NHL donated $40,000 to Zucker for the charity of his choice. And also Ekman-Larsson and Lundqvist each got $5,000 each to donate to their charities. The GM of the year was Don Sweeney of the Boston Bruins. I think some other guys like Doug Armstrong with St. Louis, some great moves there. But I think Sweeney, if you take the year overall, I think and some of the moves that he made, I think any of those guys could have won it. The Jack Adams Award, Barry Trotz winning his 2nd Jack Adams Award of his career. He's only the 6th NHL coach to actually win it twice. The others are Pat Burns, Pat Quinn, Jacques Demers, and Jacques Lemaire. Scotty Bowman and John Tortorella are the only others to win at least twice in their careers. And then some of the other, of course, Alexander Ovechkin won his 8th Rocket Richard Trophy for leading the league in goals. Robin Leonard and Thomas Greiss took home the Jennings Trophy for giving up the least amount of goals in the NHL. The Mark Messier Leadership Award was won by Wayne Simmons. And the Willie O'Ree Community Hero Award was won by Rico Phillips. And I think that's it for the awards. For the All-Star teams, the first All-Star team, we had Andre Vasilevsky in net, Brent Burns and Mark Giordano as the defensemen, Connor McDavid, Alexander Ovechkin, and Nikita Kucherov as the forwards. The second All-Star team was Ben Bishop in net, John Carlson and Victor Hedman as the defensemen, Sidney Crosby, Brad Marchand, and Patrick Kane as the forwards. And the all-rookie team was Jordan Binnington in net, Rasmus Dahlin and Miro Heiskanen as the defensemen, and Elias Pettersson, Anthony Cirelli, and Brady Tkachuk as the forwards.
And of course, the heartfelt moment of the night belonged to Montreal Canadiens goalie Carey Price. And just that whole video clip that they showed prior to that whole sequence on, players interacting with fans was actually pretty cool. There was some very cool moments this year where hockey players interacted with fans. And of course, Carey Price finding out about the little boy who lost his mom to the cancer battle, and them honoring that child there at the awards was really cool, and what they did to him was really cool. So not a dry eye in the house.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I saw a lot of people posting the clip from it saying, "I'm not crying, you are."
Yeah.
Or I'm cutting onions,
Yeah, it's just one of those moments. It's just like, man, it's just like it just hits you like right in the feels. Anderson Whitehead was the boy's name, and of course he Price asked him, "Oh, do you want to go to the All-Star game next year?" Yeah, awesome. Yes, and he also got a jersey, a Carey Price jersey as well. So just a great and.
I thought Carey Price handled it well too when he came out and the little and Anderson started crying. He said he gave him a hug and said, "Hey, everything's great, everything's fine. We're here to have fun tonight." And I really thought that was really cool on Carey Price's part. So well done, Carey Price. We obviously have the NHL draft today. Tons of rumors flying around. Just before we jump into those, though. Why don't you update us on some of the signings that happened today in the NHL?
Yeah, so a few signings that's happened over the past couple of days. The Vancouver Canucks extended Alex Edler to a 2-year, $12 million deal, and that also comes with a no-move clause. But they worked it out that when the expansion draft comes out, that they don't have to protect him, which is exactly what the Canucks wanted. He played 56 games last year, had 10 goals, 34 points, an average just over 24 and a half minutes a night. I really like this deal for the Canucks. I thought they were going to have to go 3 years, but 2 years, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
The big thing is that they got to ease back on his ice time, because that's what leads to his injuries and the gazillion blocked shots that he takes as well. So,
Well, he usually plays goaltender.
yeah, the
I've seen
Canucks
many times where he starts standing like a goalie in front of the net, and it's like,
oh,
why did he do that? But
yeah. For those that don't, the joke with Edler is that he's the Canucks backup goalie. It's just, there's so many times where he tries to make a save or whatever like a goalie, and the other joke is that his sticks always break, which is the other big joke. But yeah, I'm happy to see him back in a Canucks uniform for the next couple of years, and hopefully, as long as they can ease back on that ice time. And hopefully he can stay relatively healthy, which is the other big thing. But yeah, I can't wait to see him in a Canucks uniform. And then the other signings, the Anaheim Ducks re-signed three of their upcoming UFA players. Ryan Miller to a 1-year, $1.125 million deal. 38 years old, played in 20 games last year. I think that works out perfectly for them as a backup goalie. Then they re-signed Corbinian Holzer to a 1-year, $850K deal. He's a depth defenseman, and Abbotsford's own from our home, or from my hometown and yours, of course. Derek Grant to a 1-year, $700K deal. He had 14 points in 56 games between Pittsburgh and Anaheim last year. And of course, the other big one. With Tampa Bay, not a signing, but Ryan Callahan was diagnosed with degenerative back disease, so he will be going on long-term injured reserve, and his career is over. He played just over 750 games and had 386 points. So big congrats to his career, and it sort of sucks whenever players have to end their career due to injury.
well, it's like the Sedins saying to Derek Dorsett, we're leaving on our terms, and they're really emotionally upset, when a player like a Derek Dorsett or a Ryan Callahan, when they have to leave not on their terms, but because of injury, it's definitely tough. You also mentioned, I believe earlier, that Max Talbot finally retired from the KHL. Lots of trade rumors floating around the draft here. Maybe some trades already done. They just haven't announced it. They're maybe saving it for the draft. But there's lots of right-handed shot defensemen on the block, including Tyson Barrie of the Colorado Avalanche, PK Subban from the Nashville Predators, which they're also saying they're potentially going to keep some of the salary on their books. Chris Letang in Pittsburgh and Justin Falk on the Carolina Hurricane are all rumored to be in play right now. What have you heard?
Yeah, and I'd also throw in, of course, Nikita Zaitsev, and also Rasmus Ristolainen with Buffalo, or other names that have been thrown out there. So
Shane Goshtafir as well from Philadelphia, of course.
Yeah. So there's a lot of names out there. I'm really intrigued, just because it's just like you don't know how much of it's just rumor mill and just listening, and how much it's just talk. So I'm really pumped. I think the Canucks have been rumored to be going after Tyson Barrie, which I'm really excited if they are able to get him, depending on the price, of course. Like, I've heard rumors that it's like a first rounder, and Jake for 10, and then I've also heard Troy Stetcher's name thrown out there as well. Barrie, of course, he only has 1 year left on his contract at $5.5 million, and he'll be wanting a lot more money than he's making right now.
He's got 110 points in the last 2 years, which is unbelievable. It's more than Carlson. It's more than Doughty. It's more than Burns. So definitely he can put up points from the back end.
Yeah, and then, of course, with the Carolina Hurricanes, with Falk and all those guys, of course, it's always rumored that the Toronto Maple Leafs are looking at getting one of those defensemen that they have there. And then I've also seen maybe Tampa Bay has been rumored to maybe going after Ristolainen, depending on the contracts that Tampa Bay can unload back to Buffalo, of course. But yeah, it's gonna be super intriguing. Carolina, I think I've also seen like Peter Mrazek's rights might be on the move, possibly. Edmonton's been calling on him. And then and then Chris Letang's name with Pittsburgh. They're trying to shake up their roster, and of course their GM Jim Rutherford isn't afraid at all to make moves to his roster. Of course, like Justin Schultz, also he only has 1 year left on his deal, so they're also looking to the future in trying to get their guys signed. But yeah, and then with Nashville, with Subban, and possibly even Kyle Turris up front, they're trying to make moves so they can re-sign Roman Josi to a contract extension. And they're also rumored to be in the Matt Duchene mix as well come July 1st. So yeah, it's gonna be super intriguing, especially usually the hosts, of course, with us being Canuck fans, usually the hosts usually try to make a big move or something like that. I'm hoping we get something. I'm nervous and excited.
Especially with the rumors that Peter
Yeah.
Chiarelli might be signing with Vancouver for their head office, which there's so many people I know that said they're going to be done being a Canuck fan if that happens.
Oh man, yeah. Let's hire the guy that single-handedly dismantled the Edmonton Oilers and put them in their mix or in their hot mess. And then even before Boston, like I know they won the cup, but he also made the Tyler Seguin trade and some other moves that weren't the Milan Lucic signing.
If it happens, the Brock Besser for Adam Larson trade rumors will heat up for sure.
Oh man, well it's just the Besser for Zucker trade rumors before that. I was just like, oh, what are we doing here? But yeah, it's like I'm hoping that's just hearsay, and I've even heard like there's some other teams that have been calling to see what interest on him. So yeah, I'm hoping that's just talk. But of course, you have the Jim Benning and Chiarelli. They both work together in Boston there. Sorry, my brain would stop working there for a minute.
Well, I'm going to bring up also that GM Kyle Dubas of the Toronto Maple Leafs earlier this summer said that they weren't worried about matching an offer sheet for Mitch Marner. Now, when asked earlier today, he said that they would have to evaluate it before making a decision. With him changing his tune, a lot of people are saying that there is a possibility that with a crazy offer sheet, Mitch Marner might be on his way out of Toronto. I can't see that happening, but I've seen crazier things have happened, especially with the cap now not going up as much as people think. There's a lot of teams that are really cap crunched. They can go 10% over the cap in the offseason and have to be cap compliant come, I'm not sure if it's preseason or the regular season. But a lot of teams that have a lot of cap space might look at cashing in on a lot of these teams' cap issues. We talked earlier about Burakovsky being potentially available from Washington. Players like Donskoy and stuff from San Jose. A lot of depth players that are going to make a difference might be available here on some of these teams that are crunched.
Yeah. With the Mitch Marner, it's just like, man, when it comes to these offer sheets, it's like until a team actually goes full out and actually does it, then I'll start trying to get my head around it, because I'm just like, if you're going like, I think it's over like 10 million or something, you have to the return is like 4 first-round picks going to the Leafs, which I don't. You'd have to be like a Stanley Cup contender.
Well, Pittsburgh hasn't had a first-round pick in years, so maybe they'd be interested.
Well, they gave up a first-rounder for Ryan Reeves, which still boggles my mind that they did that. So, but yeah, it's like until somebody actually acts, because like it hasn't been since like the Ryan O'Reilly offer sheet with Calgary with Colorado, which actually wouldn't have gone good for Calgary, because I think O'Reilly would have had to gone through waivers after that. So that was actually a saving grace for the Colorado matching that deal. So, but yeah, until somebody actually does something, I'll be actually more interested in some of like those mid-tier RFAs like Timo Meier or Kasper Kapanen, where if it's just a little under $6 million, I think the return's only like a first and maybe a third or something like that, or somewhere in that range, where it's nothing too crazy, but it's like it might be enough where a team can't match. So those are the names that I'll actually be more intrigued to see if somebody goes after them, just because of the cap crunch with those two, with Toronto and San Jose.
And with the Canucks being inquiring about everything, which, like we had said earlier, a good general manager should do. I heard that the Leafs wanted market value back for Zaitsev, and the Canucks just basically said, call us when you want to unload him, because they they're looking for another piece to go along with them to take the contract. And they basically, you know, there's a lot of teams out there that might be looking to do that. There's, you know, just so that they can become cap compliant, because right now some of those teams are going to be well over the cap. So,
but yeah, I think the last thing that we have to touch on is the new video review changes. There are a few changes heading
rules.
I think the big ones, they're expanding the coaches' challenges to allow challenges for missed stoppages of play in the offensive zone leading to a goal. The consequences, if they're wrong, the first time is a 2-minute penalty, and if they challenge again and it's wrong, then it's a double minor penalty. Missed stoppages will only be black and white calls, like a hand pass, puck off the netting that we've seen. That does not include delay of game calls. That will just stay the way it is. The refs can also review major or match penalties. It's only the ref that called the penalty, and also high sticking calls. They can also review, because we've seen like own players high stick their own guys, and sometimes those lead to 4-minute penalties. The refs can also review that as well. So we'll see how it goes, especially with the expanding video review, just to see how time extensive it is and how many times it happens in games. But of course, it's about getting the call right, and as we've seen throughout these playoffs. Like the big one, of course, was the hand pass from Meyer to Carlson for the OT winner. It's just, and of course, the Joe Pavelski. Unfortunately, like he got hurt, but like it shouldn't have been a 5-minute major penalty. Like that they had to make these changes.
Yeah, I think they're great changes. I don't think it's going to create a whole lot more video reviews, especially with the potential of being penalized on it. You know, I like that the fact that they've done that. If you're wrong on your challenge, you're going to get a penalty. If you're wrong again, you're going to get a 4-minute penalty. So that could be some pretty severe consequences, especially in today's NHL, the way it's played. So unless, of course, you're a team like Dallas or St. Louis that had terrible power plays in the playoffs. Yeah, although St. Louis's wasn't as bad as some of the other teams that were out there.
Well, he could have been Nashville and not scored a goal at all.
Which is surprising. I mean, just look at the rosters out there that, you know, the Canucks had as many power play goals in the playoffs as Nashville did, right? So why don't you give us the final word before we wrap up today's show, just in time for the NHL draft about to start here?
Yeah. So for the NHL draft, I'll be doing sort of like those quick little things on like sort of what I did with the NHL Awards, just for the players that got drafted. Nothing too overextensive or anything on anything. Just so you guys just know which player went where in the draft. Of course, yesterday I did some videos on some of the first rounders coming up.
Great job on that, by the way. That's well done.
Thanks. So yeah, so it's just a little quick preview on some of the, I think the top end, probably like the first half of the first round players. So if any of those players do get drafted to your team, you can take a quick look at some replays of their season. Of course, this draft is going to be heavily American heavy with a lot of the players there. So, but yeah, we'll be interested to see after Jack Hughes and Capo Caco go in the top 2 spots where everybody's going to go, if there's going to be trades to see if some teams move up or move down. But yeah, it's like after those top 2 picks, I'm really intrigued to see where everybody's going to go, because they're you never know. We might have like a Philippe Zadina like last season, where he was looked or projected to go in the top 3, and then he fell all the way to 6. And of course, Quinn Hughes fell all the way to 7th to Vancouver. But yeah, it's gonna be really exciting to see how things go tonight.
Well, and they said in the words of some of the NHL head scouts and stuff, that there's a ledge. So after Hughes and Kako, there's a ledge, and then there's apparently 4 players in the next ledge before it drops again, and from 5 to 12 they've got another grouping of players, and then there's another big drop off. So it'll be interesting to see, because we could count 15, 16 players, so some of those players aren't according to these scouts in that ledge. But hey, I mean, we've seen weirder things happen where last year Arizona got Barrett Hayton, and Miami moved way up, and there was just, I mean, everything happens. So draft day can be wild. It's going to be exciting, and I hope your team, whoever you're cheering for, does what you're looking for them to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, remember again to like and share us. Comment below here on Facebook or on YouTube, whichever way you're tuning us in. And tell your friends about us. Let them know. Share our page. Continue to share our content as we grow our fan base. We love interacting with you guys. So we thank you so much for all the new people that are following our page. We love the fact that you guys are joining us. So welcome to the hockey community. What a great sport and a great way for the world to get together. So have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the draft. Enjoy any possible trades that may happen. And we will see you guys next week on the next edition of B&B Hockey Talk, Everything Hockey. Bye for now.